We never have to. The internet is here. Look at this podcast that we're doing. You can say fuck.
Yeah.
But if
Good afternoon, class.
Good afternoon, Prof.
We are starting very late. I hope this is not going to be the trend. Is this going to be the trend? Caesar, is this going to be the trend every Monday?
Unfortunately, it could be so because we are having a marathon of class from 7 to 4 p.m. and all of them, there's no break in between them. You move from one class, then the other start at the same time. So just in case one lecture extends, it affects the other class.
So I can extend for the time which you have
So,
not given me.
so if you also extend, we affect another the other lecture. So okay, so
That is something. Okay, I'll share my screen. Let us start. I think last week we came as far as starting on the legal and ethical aspects of engineering practice, and this is a sample of what engineers can be concerned about in terms of legal and ethical issues, preparing contracts, reviewing contracts, deciding whether it is legal and ethical, to reverse a product from a fellow engineer, managing a project to avoid possibility of liability, protecting the intellectual property created as part of a new product. And I think I gave you an example of a client giving you a job to do a house for him, a unique house whose plan maybe he has imported from far away, and you design it, it becomes his intellectual property, which you should not just share without authority. Also, trying to take a job, with a direct competitor when you have the inside information, maybe even a member of the company floating the project. And this is sometimes happening with us many times because we create proxy companies. uh, we are the main man, but we are hiding behind, uh, another person, and so we deny somebody who has legally struggled to make a proposal, and you deny him the job, take advantage. That is not an ethical issue. It's an ethical. Uh, it's a very unethical matter. So let us look at the law, the legality, and ethical matters. We know that the law is a formalized code of conduct which describes what the society feels is a proper way to behave. Yeah? So, in other words, laws reflect what society values. Yeah? My society says you should not steal. They value the ethical conduct of fidelity, should not cheat. As society evolves, its attitude toward behavior also changes. That's why we find that certain behavior in certain society becomes repulsive or revolting to some other society. Yeah? And so the laws also change as well as these attitudes towards behavior also change. Yeah? Also, the advances in technology create new ethical issues in terms of what do we do? Yeah? This is particularly important in medicine, where you find that new technology of euthanasia and things like those come in, uh, and which are between legal and ethical. Now, while laws are taking all due care and underline the words despite taking all due care. Yeah? The product turns out to be defective, but you've taken all due care. Yeah? So this may subject you to product liability law that you produced a defective product. But it is not unethical because you did all due diligence to produce the product. I leave it to you to apply this to our engineering, civil engineering products which we produce, our roads, water resources, water supply systems, our buildings. Um, and when does a product become defective from our civil engineering perspective, which may, most times you find that you've done all the design according to the specifications, according to the manuals and guidelines, but something happens which makes the building defective. Okay, whatever it is, yeah, and you can be charged that you did this, but it has failed. You've done all due diligence, so you cannot be charged with being unethical and producing a defective product. Yeah? So we need to have these distinctions in mind. Okay? So the purpose of the legal system is to protect and make life easier for each member of society. The rule of law is important not only in criminal matters, but as it affects other aspects of society like politics and the economy. This is the purpose of legal systems. And so we find ourselves involved or subject to these laws at the legal system. Having said that, let us talk about contracts, because this is an area where you going to be involved. Either you are preparing a contract for a job, or you are evaluating a contract which is being executed, and so on. So, what is a contract? It's a promise by one person or one organization to another to do or not to do something. Yeah? And it is important to note that the only promises that the law will enforce are contracts. Because if you have a promise, yeah, which is not in the form of a contract, there is no way the law can subject you to answer. But so long as the promise was in the form of a contract, and it does not need to be written down. Yeah? So you find there are three elements of a contract. Element number one is an offer. Element number two is acceptance. And element number three is a consideration. So offer plus acceptance plus a consideration equals to a contract. So what is an offer? It is an expression made by one person, who is called the promiser, that leads another person to reasonably expect that the promiser wishes to create an agreement. And the offer must be clear, it must be definite and specific, with no room for serious misunderstanding that, I thought you meant so and so, I thought you implied so and so. It has to be very clear and definite. An acceptance of the offer is necessary to make a contract legally binding. See, both the offer and the acceptance must be voluntary. It must be voluntary acts, and a contract cannot be forced on anyone. That's why when the government advertises a tender, that is an expression of an offer, and invites people to bid for a job. It's announced in the tender. Yeah. And when you bid and your bid wins the tender, then you have got, yeah, you got, and your offer is accepted by the client or by the one advertising the tender. Then you have got those two aspects. There has been an offer in terms of a tender. You've done a proposal, and your proposal has been accepted. And within this acceptance, you may also state what you expect as your remuneration, which is the financial proposal. When all this has been put together, yeah, it constitutes a contract in which there will be an offer, an acceptance, and a consideration. Yeah? So a contract is not enforceable by law unless it contains an agreement to exchange promises with value. Now, sometimes, and that value is the consideration. Sometimes there may not be monetary. No? This consideration may not necessarily be monetary in form. You may find yourself as an engineer doing, doing something pro bono. It means you just offer services for free, like we do for many, say, church institutions, community institutions, where we feel that it's part of their contribution, and you do not charge, although you could charge. It's just that your work has got value, which merits a consideration, but you decide to forego the consideration, and instead your consideration is pro bono, working for free. It's an offer. But this does not negate the contract. Yeah? Even if you are not going to charge for your services, it is still a contract, and the client knows clearly, yeah, that you are doing it for free, and the law recognizes that you did not charge. You said you did it pro bono, and it is relevant and valid in law. So there are several types of contracts. Take many forms. They may be classified as express or implied. Yeah, they may be bilateral or unilateral. It has maybe in written form or verbal. Yeah? And such contracts as, for example, purchase contracts, leases, a contract to perform a service, which is relevant to us as civil engineers. You have a contract to do a road, to do a building, or whatever it is. Or it could be an employment contract, which you sign when you get a job. These are different types of contracts. So you will, as an engineer, have to deal with contracts in a number of different situations. And some of the most common contracts are purchase or sale. House sale, and to pay your rent regularly by a certain date. And there are consequences recognized by law if you do not adhere to the signed lease. Yeah. On getting a job, you may ask to sign a contract stating that all technical ideas that you develop belong to the company. Yeah? Even those conceived while not on the job. So long as you are now an employee of the company, you put in your ideas, you develop certain products for the company, they belong to the company. And you cannot claim that, this is mine, you know. It is me who has designed this, and you have the right to peddle it around, you know. You will be subject to discipline if you did that. In technical dealings between companies, one of the parties may be asked to sign a confidentiality agreement. Yeah. So this is a contract in which one of the parties agrees not disclose, make use of, or copy a design or product that the other party is about to disclose. Yeah. So for us in practice, sometimes you are asked to team up with another consultant to do some job for a client, and you are part now of the company which has maybe won the tender. You are just being asked to execute a particular portion of the contract. This is very common, and you would have to sign a confidentiality agreement or contract that you will not disclose whatever you have done. It remains the property of the company, and you should not disclose it. Yeah, you become part of that company which has given you the job. You cannot go and say, it is me who did this, and it's not the company, because you are part of a company and you've signed a confidentiality agreement. This slide, the colors are not very good. So the writings inside are quite small, but I'm sure you've got young eyes, so you can be able to see this slide blocks. So in general, every business contract should contain the following information. That's introduction to the agreement, including the title and the date when that agreement was signed, name and address of all parties. If one of the parties is a corporation, it should be so stated that you are signing this agreement or this contract with such and such corporation. So whoever is in charge of the corporation, whoever is authorized on behalf of the corporation, will be the one signing with you. Then there's the complete details of the agreement, the promises, the specifications, expected outcomes, amount to be paid, timing of payments, interest, if the payment is delayed, or if you delay with the work, you are liable to be charged for delay. Then it also includes supporting documents such as technical information, drawings, specifications, and statements of any conditions on which the agreement depends. Yeah. These days, if you are dealing with our financing partners, you have to sign a commitment against corruption. Yeah? So those constitute part of the agreement. Yeah? The agreement will now demand that you will not be corrupt in your practices, and if you do prove to be corrupt, there are repercussions. The funding agency may withdraw funding. These contracts also give the time and date of the start of the work and of the expected completion. project duration should be 15 months, 20 months, 30 months, whatever it is, must be specified in the contract. Then terms of payment. Yeah, you can have time-based kind of payment, in which case you invoice your client for the time spent. It may also be a deliverable-based kind of contract. You deliver a certain component and you'll be paid for that component or percentages. Yeah? So these terms of payment must be very clear. For example, in the consultancy business, we are usually paid on either a deliverable or time spent, which means that you must clearly and faithfully submit the timesheets which you have, to indicate the times for which you have spent in doing the work. Then there must be an expert dealing with damages to be assessed in case of non-performance. Yeah? And a statement of how disputes are to be arbitrated and where. See, arbitration is a normal, procedure when you are not in agreement with your employer or with the person who has given you a job. There could be disputes in terms of payment, disputes in terms of how much work you have done, as opposed to what was stated. Many times there's need for us to do some extra work for which we did not even bid, and it might come to an arbitration where your client may say, but you did not quote for this. such as fraud or negligence. Yeah? You're committing a felony which is subject to prosecution. Is what's called a tort. Yeah? If you, such as fraud or negligence. So a breach of contract if violating a contract's promise. For example, failure to deliver detailed drawings of a new machine by the date specified in the contract is a breach of contract. It does not make any difference whether this was done intentionally or not. I've used a machine here, but we know that our products, what our products are. And these issues cut across various professions, civil engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers. Instead of a machine here, you may want to submit structural drawings or whatever drawings you are supposed to submit. Yeah, as you promised to do. That would be a breach of contract, whether you did it or not. Yeah? If you're supposed to deliver it within 6 months, and it means your client is suffering a loss, cost him anxiety, you created his expectation. That constitutes a breach of contract. Now, fraud is intentional, deceitful action aimed at depriving another party of his or her rights or causing injury in some respect. That is fraud. Yeah? Negligence is the failure to exercise proper care and provide expertise in accordance with the standards of the profession that results in damage to property or injury to persons. Being negligent, you are supposed to do something in a certain way, and you are not even there to see that it has been done well. You are neglecting your responsibility, and this results in injury. For example, sometimes, and this applies mainly to contractors, they are supposed to fence out the area in which they are working. Yeah? As an engineer supervising the work, part of your duty is to ensure that that fencing is done. Yeah? As much as it has to be done by the contractor, you're not supposed to do it yourself, but it's your duty to ensure that the work site is secured, and so that the site is not posing any danger to any persons. No authorized access. Yeah? Very many years ago, when we were students, that's the time when this famous hotel was being done on University Way, the white building, and there was no proper protection from falling objects, and something dropped from up there and hit a student on the head. Yeah? And finally, this student died. And there was liability. There was negligence to exercise due care in protecting, because when a walkway is supposed to be in a particular place, you don't block it, but you allow people to pass, and you don't do due diligence to protect any person passing under, or any warning about falling objects. If something falls on the head of somebody and injures that person, you have a liability. You're subject to negligence. So this is the most common way for an engineer to incur liability to the public. Yeah? You neglect to do due diligence, to live by the standards which have been prescribed. For example, an engineer fails to include a major source of loading in design calculations, yeah, for a public project, so that the design fails. Yeah? You are supposed to consider maybe earthquake forces, earthquake loading, or some live loading, which is going to be subjected to a slab. Yeah, I saw on TV 2 years ago or 1 year ago, of a wedding party that were dancing on top of a slab or a septic tank, or was it a water tank? And the slab collapsed. Yeah, under the weight, and somebody died, I think. So those are aspects of negligence where you not anticipate. Of course, in that case, I think nobody was expecting that people would be dancing on top of a septic tank, but it could be possible. Yeah, so you must anticipate any live loads or dead loads that may be subjected to your structure, and cater for it. Yeah? Note that being honest and well-intentioned does not absolve you from a legal charge of negligence. Yeah? Whether you are honest in the way you are doing the job, or you meant well, it does not absolve you, particularly if it was necessary for you to consider that load, yeah, and you ignored it. Any questions or comments on this? These are very serious matters that touch on our profession as engineers. Any comment on this? Any question? No comment or question? Okay. Then let us get back to the legal and ethical domains. As I mentioned earlier, ethics is the study of the principle of conduct that govern the behavior of an individual or a profession. It's a behavioral aspect, how you behave, yeah, what is your conduct, which governs your behavior. It provides a framework of the rules of behavior that are moral, fair, and proper for a true professional. Underline true professional. Yeah? Because untrue professionals are very unethical. Yeah? They are the ones that pick bribes, bribes, and look the other way when a contractor is doing the wrong thing, so that they can share the proceeds. So ethical conduct is behavior desired by society and is above and beyond the minimum standards of the law. Yeah, it's just that the law may not even speak about it, but ethical conduct demands that you behave in a certain way. Normally, it has been said that it's a quotation that here, and this model, you see several portions of this model. You have the legal ethical portion, number one, sector number one. Number two is talking about legal and unethical matters. Sector number three is talking about illegal and unethical issues. Sector number four talks about illegal to ethical issues. So this model, the solid line, this particular solid line represents a clear distinction between what is legal and illegal. If you look at the sectors, there's legal stroke ethical, unethical, and legal, ethical, legal, and ethical. So this solid line separates, and this gives a clear distinction between what is legal and illegal, as set forth by statute law. So the location of the dashed horizontal line, between ethical and unethical behavior is not very well defined. This horizontal line, it's not very well defined, and we shall see why we say so. The actions considered ethical depend on values, some of which are important to society, some to the profession, some to the employer, and some to the individual. Now, the task of the ethical professional is to balance these values, these value responsibilities. These values are clarified for the professional and business world by various codes of ethics. That's why we, as the engineering fraternity in Kenya, we have a code of ethics. And not only us here, in many, the world over, engineers have codes of ethics, which will guide us in striking a balance, of these value responsibilities. Now, while you will find close agreement among engineers as to whether an action is legal or illegal, you'll find much greater disagreement as to whether some act is ethical or unethical. And that's why we talk about ethics. There are some people who do not see anything wrong by doing something, so long as it's illegal. That's the argument. You see, after all, it is the legal thing to do. The law allows me to do this. But they throw away the ethical aspect when we are supposed to be giving service to protect the health and welfare of the community. Our services are meant to do so. Now let us look at, go through them quadrant by quadrant. quadrant number 1, legal and ethical behavior, is where you should strive to operate at all times. You should always be in this first quadrant. Maintain the law, but also will it be ethical? So most designing and manufacturing activities fall within this quadrant. So whenever we do, whatever we do falls within this quadrant. Yeah, you should stay here. Stay in this quadrant as much as possible. Okay, quadrant number 2, talking about legal and ethical, is the main concern of the course, of why we are running this course. The goal is to explain how to identify unethical behavior and to learn what to do about it when it occurs. There is a feeling that unethical behavior in the workplace is increasing because of increasing workplace pressure and changing societal standards. So most corporations have adopted codes of ethics. Many have established an ethics office and are offering ethics training to other personnel. Because it is so important that we identify, we are very clear, on the issue of identifying unethical behavior and how to deal with it. Quadrant number 3, illegal to unethical, is the sector where go to jail cards are distributed. You have done something illegal, you have been unethical, so your destiny should be jail. Yeah? And we find that most illegal acts are also unethical, and you are not welcome in the society. So the society says this fellow is good to be put aside, to be confined to jail. We come to quadrant number 4, where you're talking about illegal and ethical. It's a rare event, but it happens. Yeah, and there's an example is given here. You had an engineer who signs a secrecy agreement with your employer, a contract with your employer. Yeah, but then you find that the employer has been engaged in producing a product that was very hazardous to the general public. Yeah. So what do you do? Yeah. Given your ethical values, what should you do? So, unable to get attention focused on the problem within the company, you're obligated, because of ethical issues, to go to the press to warn the public that, there's a product which has come out, but it is dangerous. Don't use it. Yeah. The employer may insist that, we have spent money on this thing, and because we are sometimes, as the public consumers, we are ignorant about many things. Yeah. And so unless you are very, the common man may not know that this product is hazardous. And the company may just want to go ahead and sell it. But because of your ethical standards, say, when a director this product is not, is hazardous to the public. We should not release it to the public, or we should recall it back from the shelves. Yeah? If this its hazardousness has been discovered after it has been released to the shelf, we should recall it back. And the argument of the management is that, no, we have spent so much money, you are obligated to obey our contracts with you. And you feel that that is not right, it's unethical. If you are not satisfied, you may go to the public, go to the press, and in fact, according to our code of ethics, you can report this to our societies like EBK or IEK, yeah, who register us. Are you still there?
Yes, Prof, we are here.
And why are you not talking to me, my friends?
We are listening to you.
You are mesmerized.
Sorry?
Are you mesmerized with the information?
Yes, kind of. Yeah, with these laws.
Huh? You're absorbing this slowly. Okay. Please be conversant. These arguments. Be sure you are able to understand what is being implied by this model, which tries to provide a connection between the law or the legal issues and ethical actions. Yeah? A situation where you are forced to break your contract with your employer by being a whistleblower for the sole purpose of protecting the public against what the company is doing. How do you think this will apply in our engineering business, in our engineering profession, our civil engineering profession? Because the manufacturing area is fairly straightforward. If a product is defective, it does not meet the standards for use for the public. It is easy to say this product does not meet the requirements, they have to withdraw it. Yeah, like the sugar, which was containing, whose constitution was not meeting the standards. Yeah, which was put here and it was going to the market. I believe some of us use that sugar. Yeah, when already the Bureau of Standards had already said this product is not good. Yeah, the here the Bureau of Standards was the whistleblower. Of course, the Bureau of Standards may not have been signed a contract with the manufacturer, but we have such institutions that should be doing a whistleblowing, warning us when products we release in the market are not fit for consumption. But you can you give me an example? Imagine an example of as a civil engineer, case where you would be a whistleblower. You're employed by a consulting firm, and you turn out to be a whistleblower. What situation would lead to that? Please discuss with me. How would such a situation arise? That you're employed as an engineer by a consulting firm and you become a whistleblower. What would give rise to that? There are situations that would give rise to that. Silence. And think about it. Think about, because when you graduate and you go out there to the field, you will be faced with these such challenges, where you have to judge, between something legal and something unethical. Yeah? Think about it. Then let us talk about codes of ethics. Morality refers both to those standards of conduct that apply to all individuals within society, rather than only to members of a special group. When you talk about morality generally, yeah, moral values do not, you know, are not restricted to a specific group or to individual members. They are kind of like general, apply to all of us. Moral values arise from our obligation to respect every other human person. Yeah? Moral values. Yeah? And you can, when you look at what is happening in the world today, you can judge whether our society has lost our moral values. Yeah? Seeing what is happening around. These are the standards that every rational person wants every other person to follow, and include standards such as follow or following, respect for the rights of others. It's a moral obligation. Showing fairness in your dealing with others. Yeah? It's a moral life issue. You go to the market and you find the women there selling whatever goods, then they have punched the bottom with their gorogoro. So they are claiming to sell you 1 kilo or 2 kilos. And it is not 2 kilos because you know way of determining whether it is 2 kilos exactly. No? And fairness in dealings with others. Honesty in all actions. Keeping promises and contracts. When you have committed to your client to do what you need to do, you keep your promise to deliver as you have promised. Considering the welfare of other people in our actions. Yeah. When we are designing a building and we put steps or staircase, and we expect people who are disabled to access the building, we are not mindful of the welfare of other people. Yeah. So that's why we introduce ramps to allow access by disabled people using maybe wheelchairs to access buildings. That's why we use lifts, even in very short buildings. We may want to install lifts, if you consider the welfare of those who are going to use building, to show compassion to others. How do you think this would arise in engineering business, showing compassion? It's a biblical term. Yeah. How do you think this would apply in engineering business? How would you show compassion? Hey, people, are you not living in this world? You are quiet. Which areas do you show compassion? Where will you expect to show compassion? Any suggestion?
Please repeat.
Under what circumstances would you require to show compassion professionally? As an engineer? Anybody?
Maybe when you are dealing with the junior staff, maybe if it's in the consultancy firm or when dealing with those who are working in the site, sometimes they may the conditions they work through, and when maybe you're making directives, uh, probably directing on how projects must be done at certain time frames. Maybe the time schedule is not working for them. They are working many hours or extra hours than they should be. So sometimes as an engineer we should be considerate on their welfare also. Maybe if it's going too late, we just say no, let's wrap up for the day and we go.
Mm. Okay. Any other somebody else? That's a good try. Good proposal. Any other person?
I think in the case where probably you're supposed to demolish houses to maybe make way for construction, and people request, for example, you give them maybe a week or two to finalize their moving out. I think it would be a point where you show compassion to the people rather than just demolish. You give them maybe some reasonable time to vacate.
Mhm. Okay. You are bound to do something which is lawful. The court has ordered for you show compassion, yeah, and give people time to vacate. Any other example somebody would like to contribute? Any other case somebody may want to suggest? Anyway, think about it. Think about these issues because there are issues that we will always meet within our profession. Considering the welfare of others as we do our work, showing compassion, yeah, is somebody is still learning, for example, and may have made a mistake in the design because he's still a novice. You show compassion. You don't fire the person because he made such a mistake. You show compassion and guide the fellow, to do the right thing. Yeah, being tolerant. Uh, to showing leadership by being tolerant to certain behavior that may not be, uh, you know, right, but you accommodate other people and get them to know what is the right thing to be done. Of course, if they consistently defy what should be done, then you have uh, no other alternative but to get rid of the person from your site or from your office. So these are standards of moral standards, which constitute ethical standards. Respect for the rights of others, showing fairness in dealing with others. You don't overcharge. As much as hundred thousand shillings per month, um, uh, and somebody pleads with you that I can only afford this, you show fairness. Be honest in your actions. And this keeping of promises and contracts is a very important aspect of our practice. Yeah. I always give an example of a situation where you are spending maybe a month or two preparing a proposal, and it reaches the day when you are supposed to submit your proposal into the tender box. Yeah, and it has been specified that the tender box will be closed by 12 noon. Yeah, and because you are not, you are not cognizant of the promises which you have made to submit your proposal within a given time. You get late, you come panting, uh, you know, and you come and to the box and you find it's already been closed and it is gone. And what do you report back to your employer? When we say you should start our class at one. The implication of this example I'm giving you is that you've lost the job. Yeah, you spent 2 months preparing, investing resources to prepare your proposal. It could have been the best one, but since you have not submitted it on time, you've lost it. Yeah, so the company may fire you because of this, because you had all the time, you knew when it's supposed to be done, you had all the time to reach there, and you make excuses. Oh, I was delayed by transport. Oh, this and this happened. Oh, this and this happened. Yeah. Other cases whereby you're supposed to meet your client to make a presentation. The client is sitting there waiting, you have not come. And you come with excuses. Oh, there was a jam and things like that. You don't keep your promises. That can easily lead to dismissal of your company from any further work for this client because they know you don't keep your promises. Yeah. So these challenges which we face as engineers, and they are very important for us to bear in mind. So note that each of these standards of conduct is based on the italicized values. Yeah, italicized values: respect, fairness, honesty, keeping promise, welfare, yeah, compassion. Yeah, and moral values are not static. They change as the culture changes and people become better educated and worldly wise. For example, 100 years ago, there was little concern for the impact of technology on the global environment. Today, engineering designs must be concerned with the impact, the sustainability of the planet. Yeah? So that's why these days our law, this has been provided in our law, that for every project there should be an environmental impact assessment. Yeah, I believe you have a course on this environmental impact assessment, in which you try to look at the pros and cons of implementing your project. It's very important. And by professional ethics, we mean those kinds of conduct that every member of a profession expects every other member to follow. When we talk about code of ethics for our engineers, we expect that all members of our profession will follow those ethics. These ethical standards apply to members of that group simply because they are members of that professional group. So we talk about code of conduct or code of ethics for engineers. They apply to members of the engineering profession because they belong to this profession. Like morality, standards of ethical conduct are value-based. Some values that are pertinent to professional ethics include honesty and truth. We have seen this already, some of them. Honor, showing respect, integrity, and reputation for achievement. Knowledge, which is gained through education and experience. Efficiency, yeah, producing effectively with minimum of unnecessary effort. Diligence, persistent effort. Loyalty, allegiance to your employer's goals. That's loyalty to your company. Confidentiality, being dependable in safeguarding the information which you come across by virtue maybe of your employment or by virtue of being trusted to something by an employer, protecting public safety and health. These are the values which are pertinent to our professional ethics as engineers. Note that some of these values are directed toward the employer, like confidentiality, some toward the customer, for which you're doing work, being diligent, some toward the profession, like honor, yeah, and some toward society, like protecting public health and safety. Yeah. So all these values reflect the professional value obligations, what you're obligated to do or not to do as a professional engineer. If you look at the profession of engineering, the members of a profession are involved in an intellectual effort that requires special training, which then benefits the society. That's why when we draw our curricula, when you're following a curricula of BEng at TUC, you are involved or you following a curriculum involving you in an intellectual effort. Yeah? Because before you to become an engineer, you need a special training so that you can finally benefit the society by offering appropriate services. Collectively, a group of people form a true profession only as long as they command the respect of the public and inspire confidence in their integrity and a belief that they are serving the general welfare. What does this mean? If you claim to be an engineer and you don't subscribe, yeah, to these, ethical issues, you will not inspire the confidence of and integrity of the society. People will begin saying, oh, engineers, oh, anasema yeye ni engineer na anafanya fulani fulani. Yeah? See, so this is how we protect our profession as engineers. And of course, we know that the nature of professional services varies widely. If you look at a physician, a lawyer, and a clergyman, they always have direct individual relationship with their clients. If you're sick, you go see the doctor. You have an issue of law, you go and consult with a lawyer. You have an individual relationship with that lawyer. Or the pastor of the church, got an issue, you go to consult him, you have an individual relationship with him. But invariably, an engineer usually is salaried in someone else's employ. Yeah, you maybe an employee of Kenha, Kora, Kera, you're an employee of the ministry, an employee of Nairobi Water, you're an employee of a county. You are salaried in someone else's employ. Of course, until such time that you're able to open your own office. So about 95% of engineers work for either industry or government, and only a small but important percentage is in direct contact with the public as consulting engineers or us as university faculty. So therefore, the service aspect of engineering is less obvious to the general public than in other professions. if you are doing a road or designing a road, you know, you are designing an office, you may go to collect data from the field, but you are not really in touch with, you're not having an individual relationship with the clients, because the clients are us, all of us who are going to use the road. Yeah. So this means that we whatever we do, you know, is under the microscope of the general public. You know? Whatever you output is going to be judged by the general public. That, oh, ni nani, you know, nani alifanya hii kazi, nani alijenga hii, you know, who designed this, you know, our services are under the microscopic view of the general public. So our judge, our accuser, or our judge is the public, a very large, you know, population that stand accusing us if we do not perform as is expected. Now, to provide guidance on how to behave in situations with ethical implications, each engineering professional society has published a code of ethics. Yeah? And the code of ethics for the American Society of Mechanical Engineers is given. Yeah? And you shall see what it states. Note that the code is rather brief and quite general in its statements, and that it is heavily oriented toward values. Yeah? It is not a list of what you should do and you should not do. It's just guiding you on principles of ethics. Yeah. And the three fundamental principles identify goals for the ethical behavior engineers. What are the goals for ethical behavior of engineers? One, use your knowledge as an engineer for the good of humanity. It's a fundamental principle of ethical behavior for an engineer. Use your knowledge as an engineer for the good of humanity. Number two, do it in an honest and impartial way. Yeah? Number three, work to increase the competence of the professional of engineering. Don't be stagnant. Yeah? Increase your competence by always learning new things, new competent ways of doing things. Improve your competence. Don't be just remain as a graduate engineer, stagnant. You only know the things that you learned in class. No, that does not make you a good engineer. You cannot be, you don't have ethical behavior because you have not embraced learning and improving your status. Those are the fundamental principles of ethical behavior for engineers. Now, then there are what we call 10 fundamental canons, yeah, which become a little bit more specific, but they still emphasize value statements and leave many things unsaid. Yeah, and this generality is essential in when considered course of ethics to allow you as a person to have good judgment. Nobody can prescribe everything for you. Okay, In the Code of Ethics of Engineers for the Association of Mechanical Engineers International, their fundamental principles are engineers should uphold and advance the integrity, honor, and dignity of the engineering profession by one, using their knowledge and skill for the enhancement of human welfare. Fundamental principle. Number two, being honest and impartial and serving with fidelity their clients, include their employers and the public. Number three, repeating what I've just said before, striving to increase the competence and prestige of the engineering profession. If you're a mediocre engineer, you bring down the prestige of the engineering profession. So strive to increase the competence, yeah, and the prestige of the engineering profession. Let people say, yes, yeah, this is a real engineer by, when people see what you have done, how you conduct yourself, they should say, yes, this I would like my son or my daughter to be like this one. So let us look at the canons or the SME International fundamental canons. And by the way, these are, we also have canons in our Code of Ethics for Engineers in Kenya. And you find that they are not many different from these ones because they tend to be universal. Number one, engineers shall hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of the public in the performance of their professional duties. Very important. Engineers shall perform services only in the areas of their competence. Yeah? You should not try to be what you are not. If you are not able to do something, yeah, do not try to do it, because whatever action you do will have an impact. So if you're not competent about designing something, don't post that you've done it and you know it does not mean that it meets the requirements. And you shall build your professional reputation on the merit of your service, and you shall not compete unfairly with others. Yeah, you will compete, yes, because as consulting firms, we submit proposals, and there may be 6, 7 different consultants submitting proposals for a job, and a bid for a job. But we should not compete unfairly, where you take advantage because you have some connections, yeah, that may overlook whatever faults you have. Engineers shall continue their professional development throughout their careers and shall provide opportunities for the professional and ethical development for those new engineers under their supervision. That's why when you graduate, we expect that you'll be employed under the supervision of a qualified, competent engineer to supervise you, to oversee what you are doing, give you direction, so that within the next 3 years, yeah, as a graduate engineer, you can apply to be now a professional engineer, register as a professional engineer, because you can show what you have done under the guidance of experienced people, which means you've gained good knowledge to be able to be entrusted to sign a drawing. Engineers shall act in professional matters for each employer or clients as faithful agents and authorities, and shall avoid conflicts of interest or the appearance of conflicts of interest. when you know you are becoming an agent and you are conflicted, no, it's not good. Yeah. Engineers shall respect the propriety, information, and intellectual property rights of others. You shall not steal other people's design and pretend, and you steal other people's drawings and then you delete their signature and you sign, purporting that yours. Cheating. Yeah. Engineers shall associate only with reputable persons or organizations. You should not be associated with people or organizations which are known to be corrupt. Yeah? Because that soils your reputation. Engineers shall use issue public statements, in an objective and truthful manner. I shall avoid any conduct which brings discredit upon the profession. If you're going to issue a public statement over a matter of engineering concern, yeah, you must do that objectively and truthfully. Yeah. If you are mandated to go and say something has happened, a building has fallen, and you are called upon to go and do the inspections and prepare a report, or come and present before the parliamentary committee on the findings, be truthful, be objective. Yeah? Don't be a newspaper person who is trying to flower, to exaggerate and flower issues. Technical matters, you don't do that. You have to be objective and truthful. Engineers shall consider environmental impact and sustainable development in the performance of their professional duties. Engineers shall not seek ethical sanction against another engineer unless there is a good reason to do so under the relevant codes, policies, and procedures governing engineers' ethical conduct. You must not malign and put mud in the reputation of another engineer, even if he has stolen your wife. No, when it comes to engineering matters, be objective. Yeah, you must not soil your opponent's reputation simply because, and sometimes not of any engineering matter, he has offended you in another way, and you begin to put mud on his character just because you don't like him. Ethically, our code of ethics does not allow us to do that. Yeah. Engineers, of course, but if you know that an engineer is acting in such a way that it jeopardizes the integrity of the engineering profession, you have the right to sanction and to report that engineer. Yeah. And there are procedures of doing so. Engineers, the society shall endeavor to abide by the Constitution, bylaws, and policies of the society, and they shall disclose knowledge of any matter involving another member's alleged violation of this code of ethics or the society's conflicts of interest policy in a prompt, complete, and truthful manner. The chair and the committee. In our case here, we have got our code of conduct, and we abide by it. If another member violates the code, there is a procedure. There is how to report that to our societies that govern our engineering profession. Now, I don't want to go beyond. I'll just 2 minutes to 3. I'll stop here and pick it up on Friday, so that allow you to prepare for your next class. Any question before we go? Or comment? I've shared the notes with your class rep. I hope that each of you will receive a copy of the notes, and you will notice that the notes are actually exactly the same as what I have presented on the slides. Yeah. No comment or question? Okay, no response. So thank you for listening to me. Let's meet on Friday. Friday, our meeting is at 9 o'clock. Please let us make every effort to keep time. Thank you and God bless you until we meet next time.
Okay, bye. Thank you.